Hi, welcome to Google Hangout. I'm Samantha Haymond. I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager at BMC. And with me in the Hangout today, I have Rono Jacobs. Hi, Rono.
Hello, Sam.
One of our Senior Product Managers in the Server Automation Suite. And I also have Matt Lunsero from the Communities. Hello again, Matt.
Hey Sam.
Hi. So today, what we wanted to talk about was for a lot of customers, you're very interested in what goes on with enhancements and how products work. So we've invited kindly today Rono, who's going to talk typically what a product manager would do in communities. So Rono, let's talk about the old process firstly with how customers were able to discuss what we call requests for enhancements, and they're now called ideas.
Sure. So let me just start by quickly sharing the old process, giving a quick overview of the old process. So in the old process that we had, we had a system where, the RFCs or the enhancements were not visible to the user. The user would typically go to BMC support or raise an enhancement request. And from there, what would happen is these enhancement requests would oops, these enhancement requests would then go to the customer support, and then there would be an internal process within the system where you would get a notification that says this particular enhancement has been rejected or it's marked for under consideration, and there would be no responses to the customer. What we realized in this entire cycle was, you know, to a problem that a customer would raise, there's probably another customer who's figured out a way to solve it, or there is a simpler way to actually address it. And we didn't have a forum where customers didn't have visibility, or they didn't have ways in which they could look at how the enhancements were progressing. That was what we had with the earlier process.
Okay, and what do we have today? Because I know we've been looking at more a social collaboration. I believe now ideas for customers, we can do this via communities.
Absolutely. So, when we looked at all the changes and the feedback that we got from customers, what we decided was, with BMC communities that's coming up in shape, we decided to leverage a crowdsource kind of a forum where users would come in, raise the enhancement request. We would call that as an idea. Their fellow customers or colleagues would get to see about it, comment on it. The entire BMC force would also be looking at those enhancement requests. So it was not just the product manager looking at it, but the entire engineering and other groups having a look at that enhancement request. And you could quickly get into a dialogue where we could help identify the use cases that the customer wants, provide a solution to it, and communicate that. In doing that, what we did was we provide clear visibility to the customer where he could see things firsthand, and also there could be some solutions that were already exposed by other customers that they could come in and help on.
Okay, so I guess the key objective here really is collaboration and allowing other customers to influence decisions, predominantly with the roadmap for products.
That's correct.
Okay, so can we show an example in communities? If we can go to the login page and just show customers where they can go. So if we go back one step under products and show them how they can access this.
Sure. So if you go to communities.bmc.com, what you'll see here is all the products in BMC, they already have a community forum listed. I'm a product manager with server automation, so I'll be going down to the BMC Blade Logic server automation tab. Once you click this, you should come down to this landing page here, where you get to see, in the community forum. What I would do as a product manager typically is to go to the content tab. And in doing that, I get to see these small little icons that actually illustrate different sections in the community. The first ones are on blogs. Product managers and folks within BMC regularly post articles around market trends that are happening or new solutions that are available in the market. So there's some nice insights out there that you can have a look at. You also have a section around documents where you can find some best practices. A common example would be, how do you get started with Blade Logic? What are the things that you need to do? This kind of documentation is readily available. Then you also have discussions. Let's say you're stuck with a particular problem and you want to figure out how to solve it. Here's an example of my snapshot job, for example, is stuck. How do I go past it? What you realize is you've seen already 15 views, 2 responses that have come to it. And that's the community coming here to help you out with this progress. In terms of ideas, this is where we look at as a product manager for the incoming enhancement requests.
Okay, and can you just show customers from the first page, I think on the overview page, where they can find the icon? Because you can actually access ideas from the front page of server automation. So if you
Sure.
go back a page down on the right hand side where they can find that, I think let's go through that first and show them where there's the long list as well.
Sure. So what you see on this side is this is the content page. So you get to see a lot of information. What you see is a quick overview of the top ideas. The number here illustrates the number of points that has been voted up, and then this is the way in which we're encouraging users to post ideas, get their fellow colleagues to vote it up. As a product manager, what I would typically do is I would look at the most commonly voted idea and say, here are the top ideas that are trending out. These are the ideas that we need to consider in our plans because a large number of customers are impacted. That's the way we would approach it.
Okay, and a question here, obviously with ideas we talk about customers logging them, but if you can see from example, the fourth one down, Bill Robinson's one of our developers who did a recording recently with us, anyone can log an idea, and a lot of the time you'll find typically support or development will log them on behalf of some of the issues that they may have seen when they've been fixing things. Is that correct?
That's correct. We do encourage folks to log it. It really doesn't matter who logs the request at this stage because at the end of the day, folks get to vote it up. We look at who's voting it up. We look at the number of users pointing to it, and that helps us understand the criticality of the issue.
Okay, and if we can just show them the view where you click on show all, where it shows the ones that have been opened, and then if we can demonstrate to customers how they can look to see what issues are there. I think there's two different options, and Matt, I know you're very keen on how you can display them. So there's an option to display it as a grid or an option to display it line entry as well.
Yeah, and this is just a nice, neat view, a summarized view to see things. What will be even more important, I guess, today is to show a specific idea so that we see here one that is delivered, top left, then under consideration. Like, okay, we have that in the roadmap. Don't know exactly when it's going to be done, but under consideration. One here that is active, like, people still vote and comment and give their point of view. And then at what point product management will take a decision. But Rono, if you can drill down on any idea so that we see one, 50 votes, 60 votes.
Sure. Before we do that, I just wanted to take a moment to explain the various stages associated with, what do you mean by delivered under consideration before we drill down into an enhancement request. What you see out here is a tab that talks about all the stages of the enhancement request. So if you're looking quickly to sort based on a particular type, you could explore those options. When a new enhancement request is opened up, it typically ends up in an active state, and the stages that the lifetime of the enhancement request then flows into these stages. The next stage that it typically goes into is under consideration. This is a stage where a product manager is looking at an enhancement request and he knows that it's under consideration. It's really high on the priority. It's something that they're looking into a near-term release that they're trying to get into, and he would mark it as under consideration. Here's an example where a top voted idea is already marked as under consideration and something that we're looking at. On the other hand, if the product manager feels, this is already something that's delivered, there's already an existing RFE available around it, he would probably tag it as already offered, delivered, duplicate. Or if he feels that, this is something that there are going to be no plans around it, this is the case where it does not align with the product strategy, he does not see any long-term plans also associated with it, that's a case where, an enhancement request would get marked as declined.
Okay.
I know that from a transparency point of view, which is key for ideas here, when you flag something as declined, you also explain why you eventually did not take that into consideration, right?
Absolutely. So we make a best case effort to look at every enhancement request that is there. We rarely decline an enhancement request, mainly because we think we want to gauge what the customers are thinking about it. And then when we decline something, there's usually a comment that we post around it saying why we have declined it and the reasons around it.
And I have a question with regards to all the different stages. Typically, how long do they last in the stages? Does it vary depending on the type of enhancement someone's put together, or?
So there are multiple things that we look at when we look at an enhancement request. One of the challenges that we had earlier was when an enhancement request was opened up, we would typically mark it as under consideration, which led the customer to believe that this is something that's going to happen in the near horizon. But whereas the case, what we were trying to tell the customer was, the RFE is good, it's under consideration. So what we have flipped now is to keep the RFE only those RFEs that we are looking to consider in our near-term plans. They're really high on our priority list as under consideration. We would typically flip these states as a part of a release planning activity, which usually happens twice in a year. That's the frequency where we have a mainline release come out. And then if it's something that is really small that we can get into a smaller release vehicle, that's the time we would adjust accordingly.
Okay, and how often do product managers actually review them? I mean, if we look for this example for server automation, do you meet with a team of product managers that then look at all the ones that have recently come in to decide whether it's going to go into, say, a service pack, a minor or a major release?
So we approach it in two ways. One is, we daily get to see the comments that are coming in across enhancement requests. There's a nice way to subscribe to a notification on Community. So, you can say following in stream out here. If you choose this option, what happens is for every idea notification that happens, you get a nice alert around it. And we'll keep looking at it, areas where we see we can comment on it, add value to it, provide more information. That's something we try and do on a day-to-day basis. That aside, we typically go through once a month a review cycle with the teams to say, here's something that is getting pushed. What are your thoughts around it, and see if we can try and address it in the next vehicle that's available.
Okay, and I know that you also work very closely with other groups like customer success. For us, we have assigned customers that if customers want anything further, we can come and approach you to discuss those if it's something very important to a business, as well as using ideas on here to make sure that it's being managed.
Absolutely. So if there are customers out there who are represented by the customer success managers, we are absolutely open as product managers to have dedicated sessions with customers to go over the enhancement requests, to look at those. And we can that's something that we do on a regular basis with a large number of customers. So that's also another way in which we are open to discussing things explicitly with the customer.
Okay, so I think for an example, can you typically, I know that there's very specific things you like to see in enhancements, and I've worked with customers and also development on how to put together a idea. A lot of customers might not know about tagging and how if they put certain information in, it reads better. So can we maybe give them an example or show them how they could create an idea?
Absolutely. So one of the things that you want to do before you go down to creating an enhancement request is to actually look at a quick community space that talks about the overview of communities and ideas. This is a guideline around how you should file an enhancement request. This PDF page has a lot of information around the flow in which you should go through. What are the things that a product manager would keep in mind when he looks at an enhancement request? What are the stages? If you're looking at an enhancement request that you want to create, the best way to actually go and do it is to be clear around what you're trying to raise. Remember, we are not looking at this stage at the solution. At this stage, what we want to hear from you as a customer is, what is the business pain that you have currently, the business problem that you have currently, and why is it that having this idea would really solve that challenge? The faster you illustrate that out to us, the more clearer you bring that information to us. It firstly resonates with other customers, and the second part to it is once you have something like that out there, as product managers, when we look at problems, this is a clear case of a use case that's being told to us, a business challenge that's being brought to our notice, and it gains a lot of weightage when we look at it.
Okay, so should we do one example? We don't have to save it for today, but just maybe put a title in there and some of the sort of keywords that you might put into the main text and how they can reference other documents. Just a very brief explanation, maybe, just to show them maybe one that's very similar to what's been open to do with Blade Logic.
Sure. So let's take an example where a customer is telling us that we need a rules library available for the compliance solutions that we have. this will help us typically search for a condition in an easily and a smarter way to do it. Notice what has happened out here. The moment you keep typing for it, there's a quick index search that's happening and telling you similar ideas were found. You can probably start with it. Outline your problem that you have in it, saying having this, today we have, when we look at the rules and conditions out there, what we need is a way to quickly search for a rule that we can map to our compliance standards, policies in place. So having a rule that is really available would solve this particular challenge. Once you do that, the next thing what you can do is, if you have an attachment, or if you have something that can illustrate it, go ahead and do that. If you want to grab our attention, not that we don't look at this, you can probably use one of these tags to do that. And then the tags out here, typically you can you get to see the most popular tags, like if it's related to compliance. You can say it's patch management. If you're referring to the rules, for example, you can select a particular rule as a tag, and then go ahead and publish it.
Okay, and I think going back to the main text area, the at mention, that could be if you've had an issue or you've raised something on the community already, they can reference that conversation. It could be a group or something else that they've been working on. So that's quite helpful for you to go and pick up any information that might be related to that idea that they're creating as well.
Indeed, yes.
Okay, that's very helpful. I didn't actually know, in fact I've learned something today myself with the title, that it picks up whether or not an idea has already been related. And in fact, I think normally what we advise our customers is when they go back to the page where they first start looking for an idea, they can have a look at the display to see if there's anything else they can find. So you might want to show them that page again where there's the list of all the ideas. They can check to see if they can see one that's similar. And then if they don't see one, then they can type one up and put a request in.
Yes. So let me bring that page back on. Here's the one. Remember, there's an option to also filter. So, if you're looking for something that's related to, say, versioning, if there's a filter tag, you can search for that. Or if it's compliance related, you could quickly search for it, and you should get the results.
Okay, which is probably quite key, that tagging, I know something that I've spoken to Matt about in the past recordings that we've done, tagging is very helpful to find documentation, and the more we do it, the easier it is to find content.
Absolutely.
And here, Rono actually demoed the live way that searching works. When you create a new idea, the system searches if there is another idea that could be leveraged, so that we do not create a duplicate. We create a very original idea that other people will be able to vote on. Oh, we need to demo that. That's the first thing we want users to do. We want users to vote on ideas from others. They can create their own ideas on new stuff they have, but they need to let the world know that this idea is good. They can easily vote on it, and they can obviously add a comment to explain how it applies to them.
And I think actually the other point, Rono, to point out on ideas as well, if you find one that's duplicate, I think the view is really, rather than create a new one, if that's got a lot more votes, then it's in the interest of a customer, even though they may not have created that idea, to, I guess, piggyback onto that idea that's been raised, like it, and then provide their comment rather than go and open a new one. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So one of the things you can do is, when an idea has been raised, you get to comment on it. So if you want to build on that particular idea to talk about another use case, that's the best way to do it. So when we look at it, we get to see the entire landscape of all the thoughts around that particular use case or that particular request. And that's the best way, as you see out here. Let's take a typical one where you see someone's asking for integrated versioning. You see the folks who voted it up. And then you see out here, here's an example of a person telling you, you know what, I have an additional set of information that I want to share with you, an additional use case. And then he talks about saying, with versioning, I would like to see these kind of capabilities come in. In other words, he's helping shape an enhancement request by bringing in additional inputs, additional use cases, and that goes a long way. Here, for example, is another customer telling you, this is exactly how it is, but I do have more things that I want to build on, and that's the way to do it.
So it helps the ideas to mature, and when product management says yes, we want to implement that. It captures all the use cases from all these customers in one time.
Indeed.
And just to have a look back up on the top where it shows you the number of votes, the number that's on the left-hand side obviously looks higher than the number of votes. What's the difference? Is that the amount of people that have viewed it, and then the 77 votes, for example, on this one is the amount of votes that people have liked it?
So actually, a vote is a vote. So when somebody votes, it's a vote. You vote up or down. So we may have, and I don't know, we can look at that here actually directly, but we may have 70 people who voted up and 2 people who voted down. So talking with these people, the people who voted down, may be a good way to best design a capability, so that we also understand from the people who do not like the idea. So here, 77 actually, 77 votes here. 1 vote is 5 points, plus or minus 5 points. So that's why the score is a bit bigger.
Oh, okay.
On the right here, we see who voted up and perhaps who voted down. Okay. So right now, because this idea is under consideration, it means in the roadmap, we're about to release it. Voting is not active anymore. Whereas if you're actually, am I wrong here? Rono, can you please demo that? If you mouse over the up or down arrow on this idea, do we have? Oh yeah, sorry, my mistake. Even if, let me kill that. Even if, and I have a hard time to kill this phone. So even if the idea is under consideration, like in the roadmap, we still accept people to say yes, thumb up or thumb down.
Okay.
Whereas when an idea is declined or deliver or duplicate, then voting is stuck.
Okay. So I think that's probably the main thing, Rono, really, to show customers. I don't know if you have anything from a product management perspective that's helpful for them to know from the page and also the idea creation.
No, I think this is what we have around the ideas. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. At times, what would happen is, based on the discussions, the product managers usually are the administrators to the idea space. They would have a set of actions out here. One of the things that you can see here is the ability to edit an idea. This is where a product manager would look at it based on the discussion and say, okay, I think I can help shape this further in a slightly different way. And he would, probably tweak around this based on what he's seeing together. Or if he's looking at 2 ideas out there and he thinks one is a duplicate of another, he could probably edit this and merge some of those information in here.
And obviously change the state, right? From active to something under consideration, or already often appears when partner products do that. Or our own product does that, but the customers did not see. So that's why already offered can be used too.
Okay. That's
yes,
very
and
helpful.
quickly building over that, if you have filed your enhancement request and you want to keep tracking its status, you have the ability to follow it here quickly. So, the moment you file enhancement request, it's a good idea to immediately click on the follow. So if any further comments happen around it, any discussions are happening around it, you're going to get a live, you're going to get those information come readily to you instantly.
And I guess the recap is they can follow the page, which is up at the top, which you demoed very early on. So they can follow server automation or whatever part of the product that they're interested in, and then they can follow their idea. And they can follow people, which we've talked about in past videos as well.
So basically, from a use case point of view, I'm a customer, I have an idea. It's healthy to look at the top ideas to see if there is something far bigger that is happening that I may want to vote up or down. Then if I want to create my own ID, I will create it. The system will look if there is a duplicate or not. Then I need to vote on it. If I post an ID, I want to vote it up. And obviously following it makes sense. So I guess we'll have another recording with you, Samantha, about that. But following is in inbox is the best way to go. When you follow it inbox, you're notified real time. You see the notification both on your mobile device and on the web, and yeah, it's just all the world.
And I think the main thing on the recap is if you are going to vote or put an idea into the community, then my recommendation, and I'm sure, Ronno, you're the same, if you're looking under a specific product, rather than try and do it from the main welcome page, the best place to do it is to go under the product of your choice of where you want to put the idea in, and then do it via that page, as you demonstrated earlier, just to make sure that it goes under the right product.
Yes, that certainly helps in getting its attention in the right location. So yes, that's the right way to do it.
Okay.
And yeah, and if sometimes people post an idea or a discussion in the wrong place, we have friends, we have moderators around the world who help route things. So sometimes we move ideas. Pretty often we actually move discussions where people had an issue, they created a discussion just right where they were without thinking, oh, I'm in product server automation or control M or track it or whatever. So yeah, moving is happening too.
I think it's very helpful for customers. So Ronno, thank you very much for demonstrating it. I know it's something that a lot of my customers ask, and it's very, very key to communities. So I think this video and demo is going to help them immensely. So thank you for being part of it.
All right.
Thank you, Ronno, and thanks, Matt.
Well, thank you, Ronno. Good to see you. You all have a great day.
Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.